And Brenda, she's also an agent in Montana with us.
Hmm.
And Scott is my client. We're going to use his couple of rental houses
Sure.
as a couple of our examples.
Sure. Perfect.
Jeez, I really need a better camera.
Y'all just let me know anything you'd like me to go over besides specific properties. If you need a rundown of how everything works, how to get it set up. Or
Yeah, I'm
want
gonna
me to.
make you a co-host so you can share your screen.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I mean, I know that at least Erica and I have been in some, some of the classes that you've put on with Epic,
Right.
but I know for myself, at least, I'm very easily distracted. And so a lot of
Right.
times, like, I feel like I have listened and heard everything you said, but I still don't know if I personally feel confident enough to like go out and use it. Like maybe I'm missing something
Right.
because of my, being easily distracted. But also it's nice too to have a little bit better or a smaller setting just so that way it's easier to ask questions because it gets
Right.
really hard when we have 100+ people in some of our Epic groups trying to get questions answered and not taking too much time on one thing.
Yeah, I totally understand, and I know we've changed a lot too. So sometimes, yeah, kind of relearning the system now for a lot of people actually.
Well, good. So maybe at least I didn't get too used to one way to do it and
Right.
then have to relearn it.
Right.
Because I know a lot of people do use it. I mean, the listing that I want to give you, it'd be perfect for it, but um, I don't know. I think maybe I need to learn how to talk to people better about it so they're not as scared, because I mean,
Right.
it's just like takes basically saying, hey, take out a big loan, at least in their mind, to like redo their house. And then what if something doesn't work out?
Right. Right.
So I know those are things that I could, at least if I learn it better, then I could probably talk about it better with them.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, definitely, one thing I always emphasize is we are by no way, shape, or form saying, use these programs, push these programs. I mean, we want them, we want you to have these so when you need them or when it makes sense, use these.
Right.
That's kind of where I come from. That's why we want everyone. That's why we always had the listing presentation on there, side by side with everything else. So, you can compare it and see, if it makes sense, then definitely use it.
Yeah, well, and I know a lot of, we always hear like so and so uses it for basically just to get clients, whether,
Right.
30 out of 200 actually use it or not,
Right.
it just being a good tool to have in that sense too. I know my client really could use it because we have zero action on a very well priced home, but there's peeling paint
Hmm.
inside. And even though it's not really a big deal when you see one peeling, area, I mean, that's a big job to have
Yeah,
to.
people are cash strapped these days. So, buyers coming in, I mean, they don't have all the extra money to, put into fixing up a house. So yeah, that, like the Elevate program, I mean, that's a great program. Where you can actually get those repairs done or even do some upgrades. Um,
Yeah, well, admit that might be something that I've got to start thinking about from the buyer's perspective of, putting it out there, that program.
right,
Um, because I don't know, my seller's out of state. She doesn't really want to put any work into it, but a house across the street, like literally across the street, is under contract for $100,000 more. And realistically, some fairly, I say simple, nothing's really cheap or anything anymore when it comes to
right.
remodeling stuff. But and who knows, it's an older home, like what you could find, but it's like making the kitchen different would open up a whole new pool of buyers.
And that's kind of,
Um,
when you show them side by side, I mean, it's like, well, this is what we can expect with this option, and this is what, and then, they can make the determination, is that going to be worth the extra money or, some of these programs, I mean, you net less than you typically would, but you get speed and convenience, or you get a, buy your next home quicker. So yeah, we'll kind of, and we like to go through strategy. We're actually going to add, some optional coaching features and stuff on here too. So there's a lot of things we have in the works besides what we've done so far. But
I have
I have a question. Well, I put these two addresses that I'd like to look at in the chat,
Okay.
but a question I had is like, what if you want to do a 1031 exchange with it? Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason you couldn't. So when you're doing the 1031 exchange, obviously, you know, you're selling one house and, you know, you're setting aside the funds to buy the next house. I mean, so if you're talking about doing a buy before you sell with that, so you can speed up the well, and I don't know, because with the 1031, I mean, it would still work. You would just go ahead and buy the other house first, and then when you get the funds, you would
Yeah,
kind
do
of
reverse.
refinance with it. And
You could do a reverse 1031 if you did the
right,
buy before you sell. Okay, okay, just something to keep in mind
right,
for Scott,
right, right, right,
just because they're both investment properties that I put in there. So
right.
and Sarah's got a good one in South Carolina too. If anybody else has got an address they want to put in, but you could just start with the basic overview if you want, and
Okay.
then
Yeah.
Let
use
me
our examples as you like.
yeah, so I'll share my screen real quick. You know, one thing I want to mention, and the biggest mistake I see kind of in the revamp click offer. So anybody who used it before, you went right to an agent sign-in page because it is a tool for agents. We were asked to create this, and Josh Bellicose I'm sorry, Epique Realty. He designed this whole website for us because Epique is going to be doing a consumer-facing version, and that's what this is. It's consumer-facing, so that, you know, they're going to advertise click offers to the public. The public comes in here and puts in an address, and they get their instant options. And then those leads are going to be made available to agents, you know, based on, you know, whatever area you're in. So the one error I see agents doing is they're coming to click offers and they're putting in their address for their property here and then clicking submit. So this is really for consumers. You want to go to agent login. You know, I've thought, you know, maybe we can make the button bigger, you know, if people are missing it. But I think, you know, obviously as we get through these trainings, people will stop doing that. If you do put your address in there, I see it come across. If I see you're an Epique agent, I'm just going to send you a message saying, you know, just you probably want to go back and put that in your agent account so it doesn't cause any problems. But just so you know, the agent access is up here in the upper right. Let me sign out. So when you go to the agent login, you come to this page, and this used to be where agents would get started in the first place. I'm going to go ahead and sign in. If you don't have an account, just go to register now. The first time you come into click offers, you'll see a banner at the top saying, you know, insert your brokerage code, which is VIP user. That unlocks all the features. So just remember that VIP user. Real quick, the help and resources section. We have a couple of or three short onboarding videos that'll kind of walk you through the steps that I'm going to mention briefly, but that goes into it in a little more detail. They're 3.5, 4 minutes each. Going through these is real helpful. Then we sort of have a short presentation / script for buy before you sell programs and for cash offers that kind of go through the different kind of cash offers that are available in the marketplace. And also some of the advantages, disadvantages. Feel free to, just for your own information, have a look at these. Feel free to share those with your clients also. You can save them as PDFs, or you can present them. They look great on a phone, look great on digital. So, you know, that's for your resources, and we'll add some more resources here as well. But the main thing you want to do if it's your first time, and I'll just go through this real quick before we get into the properties, come into your profile and website section. This is where you add your headshot. I've got this kind of set up as a generic account, so I just, you know, put the logo there. You're going to want to select a Gamma theme. Gamma is the AI generation that has that generates your listings. This also determines, you know, how your instant reports look. We've got a few different options. We're going to add some more in here. I'm just going to pick chimney dust. Your illustration style, again, that's for the AI generation. You can add a little bio here about yourself if you want. If you do, that'll go into the listing presentations you can generate. Your social media links, if you put these here, that's going to go on your bio link. Your logo here, that's going to go on your net sheet. That's going to go on. So this is any logo you want. If there's a Epique logo you prefer, if you have your own logo, that's going to show up in a few places. Your default commission amounts. This just makes life easier when you're submitting properties to have these put in here. You can change these for any transaction, and I'll show you where. It's super easy, but it just speeds it up when you already have your default set. If you have a review link, you can include that, and that will show up in your listing presentation. And then your web page. So this is your custom web page that it looks a lot like the main web page. I'm copying my link here, and I'll just show you. So it looks a lot like the main web page, but any leads that come to this web page and put their address, that's going to go to my CLIQUE Offers account. Again, it would have my headshot up here, all my agent information, and you have all these different sections that you're able to. If I go back to this page, you can change images, you can change text, you can add. Let's see, if I go to the bottom, I can add links to other pages. Like if you have a home search website, you can add that here. So this is your website. It used to be just a static landing page. You can embed. Same difference. It's just a little more robust. It's more like a full-on website instead of just a landing page. You can embed that link in social media, any advertisements you want, or send it to a client to get information for them to input, whatever you want to do with that. And then the last two things, the bio link, same as usual. You can add as many links to different services as you'd like. This is all, I would say staging, photography, billboards, reviews. I mean, you can link to videos, you can link anywhere you would like. Same thing as a link tree. You can use this in your email signatures. You can use this on advertisements. This is kind of all about you and your business, and this will show up in a few places in the presentation. And finally, the integrations. If you're familiar with Google Analytics and Facebook, that's, some people are, most people don't mess with this. You'll never mess with the webhooks down here. The part most agents would use is if you're doing lead gen, if you have Lofty or any other service, any other CRM you're using, they all have a receiving email. You can copy that, you can paste it right here, and then all your leads that you generate in CLIQUE Offers will go immediately to your CRM. On the CLIQUE Offers YouTube channel, we have some videos that show you where to find that in Lofty. It's generally pretty easy to find. If you have trouble, we can help you find it within any of the others. Sometimes it's hidden a little bit, but that's literally all you do is copy that email, paste it here, and everything goes right to your CRM. So finally, going back to the dashboard, to get
Real quick,
options.
that link that you said, that's our personal link,
Yep.
similar to the one that we initially were seeing. If we send them that link, so my client who, isn't completely on board with using something like this, if I'm like, hey, use this link, put your information in, play around with it, is she able to see, do what any consumer would do from that link, but it links to us?
Right. So I'll show you what they get, so basically there's two ways you can, get this information, and either way you're going to get instant options. And they can go through your web page and enter that information, or I was about to show you right here how to do it. It's the same set of questions and it produces the same result. Now, as the agent, you have the ability to go in, alter numbers, change it, proceed to the next steps where they basically just get the presentation with the numbers on it. But I'll kind of go through that right now. So if you go on your website, if I'm here on my website and a lead comes in, a consumer, and they enter the address, or if I'm the agent, you're basically going to, so I'm clicking add property. They're going to be asked these same questions. The format is different, but it's basically the same. I mean, first of all, they're going to want their address. So actually, I'll just throw in one of the addresses you gave me in chat. Let's see if I can. Where is the chat?
There's 4937.
Oh yeah, well, if you know, yeah,
4937 Hope Road, HOPE, Hope Road, Butte, Montana, BUTTE.
Okay, so yeah, so you see the address here, and the lead name. Is this for Scott?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just put his name. So this doesn't matter. This is just my account. So first of all, when you put in the address and you put in the name, you're going to see one thing pop up here. This is an AVM. This is an estimated market value developed by an algorithm. We give people the option to use this, especially consumers, if they don't know what their home is worth, or they want an instant valuation. It's the same as Realtor.com, as Estimate. there's so many of these out there. Any an agent, if you want to use this number, you can click it and it will fill that in as the market value. Same thing, you know, a consumer can do, but a lot of times we know better. We know the real value, you know, that the robots aren't always right. So, you know, I'd have to ask you, do you think that value looks right? Or do you think that, you know, it's a different market value? Because all these options are going to be based on the market value of the home. So, you know, let me know what you think on this property.
Think I have that pulled up right here. So that looks about right from what I was using RPR earlier when we were
Okay.
talking about it. And so that's about right.
Okay. So, and you can, like I said, you can use that or you can enter your own value. It's saying that there is no mortgage balance. Is that accurate, or is there a?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So, and, you know, like I said, all these programs are based on market value. They're also based on, you know, how much equity you have in the house. So properties that have no mortgage balance, they always work well. Listing commission. So it pulled in my defaults here, listing commission, and I have 3%, buyer commission at 0. I can change these right now if I want to, or I can leave them. That's totally, you know, I don't know what sort of commission y'all have worked out. If you want to let me know, I can put that in.
This is fine. Just run it like that. That's great.
Okay. Next question, are there any updates or repairs that could be done that would boost the home's value? If I click yes, it's going to ask me the estimated repair cost, and then it's going to, you know, ask me, okay, well, what would that make the home worth if I did those repairs? I don't, are there any repairs you would do to this house?
Yes, Scott, what would you think the estimated repair is? You don't know. Have to think about it.
Yeah, I can just throw in.
Let's just say 20,000, just to throw a number in there.
And I mean, do you think would $20,000 worth of work? I mean, would you get? Do you think around 600,000 for the house or less? Or?
Yeah, probably, because it's got 2 really nice apartments
Right
above the garage.
Okay.
And they're empty because the upstairs neighbor like flooded her sink, and to the bottom one too, so there's water damage.
Wow.
The high end of the RPR, RVM, or AVM or whatever was 626.
Yeah, so I think that'd probably be about right, because I think the house is rented for 2,600 a month, and then those would probably rent at, like, what do you think, 1,300 or 1,300 each? So double that, 2,600.
So we'll use 626, and again, you know, you can run these as many times as you want. You can add them. The last question you have is your client also buying another home? If so, you know, what's the price of the new home? I don't know if you've got another property in mind. This is honestly really more for agent information. You know,
Yeah,
leads are coming in.
yeah, he would buy something else. He would 1031 exchange it.
So about probably the same price range, you think, or less?
Yeah, yeah, same.
Okay, we'll just say 600. Watch how many zeros. So as soon as you hit create net sheet, a couple of things. You're going to get all of the options. Also, the biggest difference right now is we always had the net sheet view, which also has all the options. This is what the clients were getting when they went through your landing page. This is what they were seeing. This is what a lot of agents were using for their presentations. Because if you click right here, it goes right to your bio link, which is this link that had all of the services. They were kind of scrolling through it like a PowerPoint. So they still get this, and this is still embedded in the other format. We've added this full presentation format, which this gives you the seller options. This isn't the listing presentation I was talking about generating. It's almost like a short form of that. I don't know why that didn't just generate. Oh, I have a feeling I know. Real quick, I did not save my changes when I did this. 4937. Okay, there it is. So that was a good example because I didn't save the theme that I wanted to use. It didn't produce this report. But but this is generated instantly. So now if leads go through your landing page, this is what they get. Now they can, you know, click around on it. There's a few places they can click. This is kind of showing the spike in value from, you know, I guess they got it starting at 0. So this is the first month. So that this is kind of why the chart looks a little weird. You'll be able to set up contacts to get this monthly, and then it's going to show the home valuation change, and it's also going to update all these options. It's going to have a little bit of information about the current market. It's going to talk about these cash offer solutions. The net sheet you can link to right from here. It's going to have these buy before you sell solutions. So it has all the same information as the net sheet. It's just in text instead of, you know, quantified. But again, you link to the net sheet. It has charts to compare the option. And then obviously a call to action. This agent services is your bio link. And then again, the detailed net sheet here. So this is what leads get when you go through the landing page. This is also what you generate instantly on this end. So as soon as you put a property in, you can get that report. If for some reason, you know, they didn't have some of these options, if they weren't, you know, adding equity to the house by doing repairs, those options would not be on the report. It would only show the options as they are here. With any of these options, you know, so besides this property, if I know my client isn't buying another home, I mean, these shouldn't show up, but if they decide they're not buying, these two buy before you sell options, I can go in here, I can just delete those, so I can clear them off the screen. But you can build this any way you would like. You can add more options if you have another buyer. If you have a, like Hillstone cash offer, they're only available in California. You know, if you have, let's say you went to Open Door and got an offer. I mean, you could add, you know, Open Door in here, add that offer to the net sheet. You know, you could fill it in with whatever they offered for the home, add the cost, and that way you can just kind of compare everything. We are going to add resources. We actually just signed the paperwork today where we are going to give agents access to financing if they want to. I don't know why that's not deleting. But if you want to be make the cash offer, or, you know, if you have an investor, it's going to have access to DSCR funds. It's going to have access to short-term funding for rental properties. It's going to have access to long-term funding, and it's through a very well-backed financial source that we're comfortable offering it. They're in all 50 states, and we're going to make that a resource available, so you truly will have more options than ever. Going through these options. Well, before I go through these options, the next two things you're going to see on the net sheet, this is where you can generate a full listing presentation. If you select listing presentation, you select whatever template that you would like to use, and then you click this get document. It's going to take about a minute and a half, and it's going to be a full AI generated document through a company called Gamma. It's going to look very similar to the report I just pulled up, that instant report. It's just going to be longer. It's going to have more language. It's going to be more like a listing presentation. You know, it'll talk about agent services, what we do, all that fun stuff. You can create as many of these as you would like. If you have your own Gamma account, we have developed a way where you can take your own API and plug it in, so you can use that. The advantage there is you can edit those then, and obviously make your own content. And we are going to have other content that you can create through Gamma, but it's a neat little product. And then the home value tracker. If you turn this on, click activate, I can add, you know, whatever emails I want to. I'm just going to throw mine in here, and it tells me that on January 2nd, I'm going to get an update of the valuations. It's going to be the same thing as this report here. It's just going to, you know, track the value of the home based on information that we're getting of values in that area. It's going to show how it changes, and it's also going to update these options as well, because like I said, these are based on the market value of the home that we've put in here. So going back to these actual options, sorry, I'm one of these people, I can't stand to have this many tabs open. So we have the first two options here are your cash offer options. These next two are the buy before you sell options. Your traditional listing option, I mean, that's as simple as putting a sign in the yard and selling it. And then the elevate option, which is, you know, you're doing some improvements to the house and then selling it and getting more for it. All of these options, just like on the net sheet, it has the cost broken down. all the fees. It has product details. Some of them have a little attachment here that will, pull up some information about the product. Some of them, let's see, they all have the next steps. If you click proceed offer, that's going to pull up the account manager's information for this option. So you can reach out to them and ask them about it, ask them any questions. They're also going to reach out to you and discuss the option further. I mean, this isn't like a commitment to the option. This is if you just want to get more information. The first two have the same account manager. These next two have an account manager who's actually Daniel Bellamy with Power Mortgage. No, you don't have to use Power Mortgage with these options, but obviously with buy before you sell, most of the time somebody's getting a loan to buy a property. Some people are still paying cash. So it's important that you do have a loan officer who's familiar with these programs. Power Mortgage is a great partner. Of course, you can use anybody you want. And if you have a loan officer who you just love, we can absolutely connect them with a company called Fly Homes. That is the one that's providing these financial products for the buy before you sell. They would love to talk to, more lenders. That's how they make their money. They provide these through lenders. It's the same programs that HomeLight and Knock offer, just lower fees. The biggest difference is HomeLight and Knock are charging fees based on the price of the home that you're selling. Fly Homes is charging fees based on the amount of equity you're getting or the backup offer, either one. So that obviously work. If you have $1 million home and you're paying fees based on $1 million versus maybe you're only getting $500,000 of that equity, obviously the fees are going to be less if they're being charged on that equity. So it's a better option, but the mechanics are the same. And then, like I mentioned, the traditional listing and the Elevate option, and then of course anything custom that you want to add here, or if you want to make your own offers or have your own sources, that's all good too. For a buy before you sell option, because that sounds like this situation. And, again, for this situation, I won't do it now, but if I know that that's kind of what they're looking to do, I might just delete these cash offer options and see where we go, just kind of clear the noise. The first one right here is the equity option. This is the option where you're going to get an equity advance on the property, up to 70%. And then you can use that money to go and buy your next home. If that covers the amount of money you need to buy it in cash, great. If you need to get a loan, to do that, you can use that towards the down payment for that loan. And that's kind of comparatively, if you look at the total net, and that's what this is, the net that you're going to get from each one of these deals. With the traditional listing, this person is netting, $550,000. With this equity advance, it's $534,000. So they're paying about $16,000 to be able to get that equity out to go ahead and move. So it's $16,000 in fees. But one thing I do like to point out is typically when you're shopping, if you don't have a contingency, and if you're able to buy without a contingency, a lot of times you can get that next property, especially in this market, for a lot less than, $16,000, or, even if you only get it for $16,000 less, you can offset those fees. So, it's kind of that, what we're doing here is kind of developing strategy. Like, there are fees for the buy before you sell, but if it helps you get that next house for a better price, beautiful. Also, I always like to mention, even if your client is selling their house, but they're not planning to buy another thing, maybe you're getting offers on that house, and maybe those offers have contingencies. Suggest this program to the agent who's making the offer. See if you can remove that contingency for your sellers. See if, maybe the house they're working for, maybe it works for this program, and maybe you can get a non-contingent contract. So it's just, different tools, different ways to use these. This backup offer is by far the less expensive option. The reason is because in effect, it's basically a piece of paper from a certified buyer. The only purpose of this program is when you're buying two houses, and if you're qualifying for another loan on there, maybe you already have money for a down payment. If you're getting a loan for it, sometimes the only thing that keeps you from getting approved for that loan is the fact that you have a current mortgage payment, and now you're going to be taking on another monthly payment. What the backup offer does is it's I think HomeLight calls it a DTI drop. It allows the mortgage lender to basically ignore that first mortgage payment, and basically it helps you get qualified. The fee for that is only, I think, $2,500. it actually goes by price point. And when I say price point, it goes by the price point of the backup offer. The backup offer is generally just enough to cover the mortgage payment, because really it serves as a way to remove that. So if the backup offer is 500,000, it's 2,500, 750 is 3,500. A lot of companies generally charge closer to 7,500 or $10,000, regardless of the price of the home. So again, this is just a much better fee for the program. But yeah, that's all that does. It's basically just omitting the trailing debt on the property that you're selling. Real quick, the cash offer options. These are backed by a company called Zoom Casa. It's similar to a company called Homeward. It's Open Door has a program like this now called Cash Plus. There's a few differences between this one and Homeward and Open Door that I'll mention, but the gist of these programs are they're structured cash offers. And what that means is it's a two-step transaction. So they'll buy the house for an initial price, usually around 70% of the value. That usually is plenty to pay off the mortgage and then put some equity in their pocket. If there is no mortgage, then they get the full 70%. You list the house, you're still the agent, you list it, and this works for homes that are on the market already if you're not getting any activity on them. You list the house, you sell it, and on that final sale to the end user, the original seller gets the remaining equity less the fees. The fees for this kind of cash offer, the structured cash offer, they generally run between 7 and 10%. That depends on how long the house sits on the market. So kind of the way to explain it to a buyer is at 100% of the market value, that's what obviously everyone would like to get. This program has 7 to 10% fees, so this is going to get them 90 to 93% of that full market value for a quick sale to be able to move on to the next thing. Obviously, that's before commissions or any concessions, but that compares to, say, an iBuyer offer, which they're going to give you about 70%. So it's 30% versus 7 to 10%, and that's kind of the cost for that speed and convenience. The only other thing is obviously you can sell it to Open Door or another cash buyer. Generally going to be 70 to 75%, paid. So that's definitely a lower net. Obviously, it's one quick transaction, but I think when you compare apples to apples and you show them, you're going to get about 70% up front anyway, and then you're going to get another check just whenever it sells. They generally understand at that point. Some people will kind of get tripped up over the two transaction concept, but it really is just a way to get that speed and convenience. If somebody needs to move a house, if somebody's facing foreclosure or they just want to move on. I mean, we've seen a lot of people who they seem to have so much equity, they just don't seem to care, and they just want the speed. So there is a cost associated with that, but it's a lot less cost than the typical cash offers that are out there. And again, we mentioned that in that little presentation. We stack up wholesale offers, iBuyer offers, and then these structured cash offers. The second version of this, the Echo Pro, that's the exact same thing, except for they will do repairs and upgrades to the house to get more money for that house. And that's why the value is at the 626 here, compared to the, so that it's kind of like Elevate, except Elevate, you're not doing a cash offer, you're just increasing the value and selling the house. This one, you're increasing the value, getting the cash offer, and then still obviously listing and selling the house. All of the market values here, like I said, it's based on, what the market is paying for the house. That's another useful thing for this add more options tab. You can, add these a second time. You can run scenarios at different prices. You can say, this is our best case scenario. This is our worst case scenario. They're always going to confirm the value of the house, just like any buyer would with an appraisal. It's not their it's not their in-house appraisers. They're going to order it just like a bank would. So it's going to be a local appraiser. As long as it appraises for the value, shouldn't be any problem. As long as the house is, what they say it is, then shouldn't be any problem at all. Trying to think anything else to go over on this property. I'm sure y'all have some questions because I just dumped a lot of information on you. I'll let y'all fire away on this one, or we can, kind of look at another property and see what the results we get are. Well, one thing I'll mention, sometimes you'll input a property and you'll see a little red exclamation mark over here. That basically, all that means is there's likely not enough equity for one of these programs to work. Now that's not a hard no in a lot of cases, and that's why it's still good to reach out to the account rep. They do have some flexibility. Sometimes they can make it work. I mean, I've seen it get really, really close on a deal, and you know, the last thing they want to do is lose a deal. The only way these companies make money is if, you know, you're using their service. They'll be the first to tell you if you know, they can't make it work. Daniel Bellamy will be the first to tell you not only if it works, if it doesn't work, but I've seen him multiple times tell clients, well, hey, you don't even need to do this. I got a better way for you. So I mean, you know, obviously he would love to get your loan, but you know, that their whole thing again is use these when you need it. They're not going to try to shoehorn you into something you don't need, because they sure don't want to be stuck with a house that's just sitting there either. In all these cases, reiterate, you're the agent, you're going to list the house, you're going to sell the house, so you get all the benefits of that. That's right. The one thing I wanted to touch on with the Zoom Casa versus Homeward and Open Door. Homeward's a great company. Have no issues with them, except that they were only in like 12 states, and they're supposed to expand into California. I don't know if they've done that or not. Open Door has basically copied Homeward's programs. Now they're slightly different with the fees versus Zoom Casa. For all intents and purposes, they're the same thing. The major differentiator is with Open Door and Homeward, after they've bought the house and after it's sat on the market for 4 months, there is no more upside to the homeowner. So after 4 months, if they sell it to somebody else, you know, for you know, whatever the price is, and there's equity left, that equity does not go to the original home seller. Zoom Casa doesn't do that. The equity, any extra equity from that sale, always goes to the original seller. And actually, now I don't know how the other ones work, but let's say that Zoom Casa buys the house for 70% of the value and the market just tanks, and for whatever reason that final sales price is 60% of the value. Well, that's on them. They do not come back after that original seller for the difference. So I mean, they are free and clear on that initial purchase, no matter what that final sales price is. And then when it does sell and there is extra equity, they get that extra equity. I've not seen a situation, I've heard of one where it sold for less eventually. That seems rare, but again, that's the risk they take. They're already hedging that risk by, you know, doing a certain percentage up front. But that is important to know. I mean, they don't come back on your sellers to collect if it doesn't sell for, you know, what they paid for it.
Zoom Casa doesn't, but the other ones would.
Well, no. So Homeward and I don't want to say Homeward and Open Door would, because I don't know that. I just know at 4 months there is no more upside with the way that they've structured it. Now their theory is after 4 months, I mean, I guess their plan is to lower the price to a point where there wouldn't be anyway after commissions and fees. You know, there wouldn't be any equity. Yeah, you know, I would think there would be some equity probably left. But again, they're Open Door, I think, is only working with certain agents. Homeward is a great company. I got no complaints with them. I'm not saying anything they're doing is wrong at all. It's just structured a little differently. As far as I don't know if they come back after, you know, sellers. If there's, I doubt they do. I think that risk is just theirs. I don't even understand a mechanism where you could possibly do that. So I doubt it, but I wouldn't want to speak to that one way or the other.
Okay.
But, I mean,
And where did you say that the red exclamation mark would be if it wasn't going to work?
well, actually, I think I'll just kind of change this and I'll probably show. I think it actually just
Okay.
the whole thing in red. So
And that's based off of the equity in the home. Is there do you know if any of these have a price, like a minimum price?
good question. So these first two, the cash offer ones, they typically don't like to go under 300,000. Again, it's not a hard and fast rule, because I've seen plenty of, you know, $250,000 houses with, you know, if you do certain repairs, then you can certainly, you know, get into the threes with those houses. They're going to look at certain areas, you know, and just kind of check the sales. And that's why this at about 280, you'll see this same exclamation mark on the cash offers. And then in those cases, I would just say, you know, reach out to Danielle or your, you know, the account manager. and just say, hey, here's the situation, and they'll take a look at it, because I have seen them definitely do lower price range homes. And actually in one instance, it was I think in 180 range. They had to adjust the fees accordingly to make it worth their while, but it worked out well for everybody. That was months ago. But
I have a lead that had said that it was financial hardship, and I wanted to reach out to them by phone, but I wanted to be able to also offer, I mean, like in my initial, texts and stuff, I
Right.
guess, I mentioned it, but I wanted to be able to actually speak on it. I know realty.com gave them about a 230 price point, but I don't know condition or, anything like that either. So,
Right. And so in a situation like that, I would, I'd stick it in here, run the numbers, it should pull up their mortgage balance if they have one, see what it looks like, and maybe then reach out to Danielle and just let her know, hey, I've got these people I'm working with, maybe I'm going to get them to send me pictures of the house, and we'll see, but, kind of give her the rundown and see what's going on with it, and see if the initial numbers work. Because they'll be able to analyze it. They do the in-house underwriting. They'll be able to tell, what's this area like? Our house is selling for more. If they'll know the age of the house, if it does need repairs, and because you can just tell them, look, this is a lead. I haven't seen the house yet. So, I'm trying to work out what we can do. She is the Epique Realty account manager for this. So, and she is just super helpful. She's been on a lot of the meetings, the Epique Essentials. I love Danielle. She's not pushy. Again, none of these people that we work with are going to try to press you into something or press your clients into something that doesn't work for them or isn't a good job. And to that point, for like the Echo Pro or even Elevate, if I'm an agent, I'm like, God, if I can upgrade this kitchen and it's only going to cost me, $20,000, I can get another, 150,000 for the house. They're going to analyze it, and they'll, say, well, look, we by our analysis, you're not going to get that much money for this house, and it's probably going to cost you more than that. I mean, these are not, the loan to own, like wholesale market, hard money lender types, that are trying to get you in a bad situation. They'll be the first to tell you, we don't think that repair is worth it. We don't think you should do it. Again, they don't want to be stuck with it. They don't want to be stuck with a house that's overvalued. House Amp is the company that supports Elevate. And strangely enough, House Amp is actually the company that provides the financing to so many other companies that are in this space. The ones that do Compass Concierge, the ones that do, I mean, I think they were providing Curbio with money after they weren't doing Curbio service. I think that was where Curbio, that they don't do the work, they're providing the money. But this is like the source of the funds for a lot of these companies in the industry. So, I mean, we're going right to the source. That's one reason they have good deals. It's also a reason why, they can work with agents. I mean, honestly, at any brokerage, where a lot of, companies, they can only do if the whole brokerage signs up. Obviously, Elevate is working with the whole brokerage, but House Amp is just a great company that is very well off financially, to the point where, in a way, they're almost competing with other companies they're providing money to. But they are definitely legit. And that's one thing. There are certainly providers of other services that we don't put on this platform because we think we either don't like their service, we don't like their something about it comes off shady, or I mean, we try to vet these companies and make sure that they're not going to set up shop and back out, for sure.
I was putting that guy's information in just to see what it did for me.
What's the address? We can,
Um,
any
20,
other address we can run.
yeah, I want to run, I have one for sale right now. It's 1007 West Palmetto Street.
Is that Florence?
Yeah.
Okay. Gonna put test lead in here. 346, or what price is it?
I have it listed at 325 right now.
Okay. We'll just put in 325 then. Mortgage balance, does that look right? 185.
So I did clarify that with her, and she said it sounded about right.
Okay.
And then I have it at 3 and 2.5%.
Any repairs, you think?
I mean, realistically, it's move-in ready, but it's got a mother-in-law suite.
Right.
So it's like almost 4,300 square feet. The mother-in-law suite takes up, about 400 square feet. And so like comparing it to that house I was talking about on the other side of the street, like if they remodeled the kitchen and just kind of added either that space back into the main house or like made them second or another master bedroom on the main floor, I think it'd be a lot more attractive to
Yeah.
people.
What do you think
But
price-wise? Where do you think price-wise that'd put it?
I mean, if we compare it, I mean, we could say at least 400 just because, I mean, I still can't say it's going to be as nice as the other one, but we can just conservatively, we can just put that there for now. Just
What price do
don't
you think
know.
those repairs would cost? I mean, kitchen, opening up walls, whatever it is,
I
50,000. I have
mean,
no idea what it's running there.
yeah, I mean, I guess I really realistically don't have a great estimate, but I mean, we'll say let's just put 40,000 just in, because I mean,
I'm real impressed. 4,300 square feet for 325. I need to move to Florence.
seriously, and it was a rental and it was bringing in 3,800 a month, and I didn't want her to put new renters in there and then have a hard time. We're already having a hard enough time, but
Is
add
she
in
is she gonna buy anything else?
so I know she wants to buy land for a mobile home park
Okay. Yeah,
after.
and definitely land. I mean, that doesn't really work for the buy before you sell program. So I would
Right.
leave that out. That being said, some of these financing options that we're going to come up with. So speaking of that, because the buy before you sell, I would just come in here and delete these options because they're not, really going to be options anyway. And then, right away, then you're kind of left for four. The financing options that I said we were going to have for like DSCR loans or investors, short-term, long-term rentals. We also do have a new construction with that company as well. So that's going to be a really interesting product. And we'll see that as soon as January, because we're not going to have a lot of integrations. We're just going to basically kind of refer people over to them, and we'll have them over here in the sidebar. But it's basically just, another option if agents want to get investment properties. I don't know if anybody's familiar with DSCR loans. I think they're amazing. Very low friction ways to get started in the rental market, and basically just based on a math problem. They're great. A lot of people are doing them now, but a lot of people also don't know about them. I think the major banks will be offering them pretty soon, but enough about those. So on this property, obviously, you have these options. She could do the cash options. Obviously, with this, so this is interesting. So this traditional listing, if she sells it like it is at 325, she's going to net 307. If she does this Echo Pro option, and the nice thing about the Echo Pro or the Elevate is you're paying for this out of your home equity, so you're not coming out of pocket to do these repairs. Now, obviously, somebody's going to have to, hire the contractors and get the work done, and that's obviously, more work. So if hopefully, if the house needs it, that's a great way to get it sold. Whereas maybe it doesn't sell without those repairs. But obviously, I've done my share of house flipping. Sometimes it's a pain. So I would look at it real carefully. Decide what anybody wants to do. But even with a cash offer, if she does the repairs, she's actually netting more than she would if she just sold it as is. So that might make it interesting to her. She would get speed and convenience, but she's going to have to wait to get that equity out, but she would be free and clear of it. If you use the Elevate program to get those repairs done, she gets 336,000 versus, if you just stick a sign in the yard, 307,000. Or, obviously a quick cash offer solution. So, again, if you go to the cost, this shows, how much money she would end up with on that first transaction. They're going to give her about 70% of the value. They're going to pay off her mortgage, and she's going to get about $45,000. And then when that house sells on the second time after you list and sell it, she's going to get another about 55, 315. And that's where, so this total includes her mortgage still. So this is before the mortgage is paid off. We are going to add a little toggle that you can switch on to, deduct the mortgage from here. but some people were just getting really confused that this was showing a low net, and then they still thought they had their mortgage to pay off. So this kind of breaks it down better for you, and that's with all of these options. Like you'll notice in this traditional listing, obviously there is no second transaction. You know, she gets all this money at once. So, you know, Elevate, you're basically selling it one time, you know, so she gets this much money after her mortgage is paid off. So, you know, this to me, obviously she's going to have either this net sheet that you could review with her, you know, it has the cost, same way the other one does, has the product details, and all of this looks great on mobile. I mean, if you want to have some pros and cons, so you can share these things via mobile. You can send this full presentation. I mean, you've already got the listing, so there's no reason to really do it, you know, for a listing presentation. But you know, like in here, I deleted those buy before you sell, so those were deleted from the report. So, you know, there's no noise. It's the cash offer solutions, it's the listing solutions, and this is going to be the net prior to the mortgage. You know, has a few little details here, links to the net sheet. So this might be a good way to kind of show her, you know, and I always kind of think of it as, you know, you mentioned in the beginning, some people do this to get listings, and you know, obviously it's a great way to get listings, honestly. I mean, it's not that you're putting this out there only to do that. I look at it, you're putting this out there as a way of saying, hey, I'm an agent who has all of these options. You don't need to go, you know, to Open Door and Home Light and, you know, this other company, or call this wholesale person and then talk to an agent. Like, literally, I have all your options right here. I'll be able to tell which ones are the options. I'll be able to tell you which ones are not the options, which is equally important information, because a lot of times people find out, well, I don't have any other options other than list. But you are the one who's going to, you know, have all these options in one place, full transparency. I mean, you're not hiding anything. You're showing them exactly what they're going to net with each option, talking through the pros and cons of each option. And then, you know, that keeps them coming to you. There is no reason for them to, because if they go to Open Door, they're still not going to take the offer, and Open Door is going to refer them to an agent. I know in my market, and maybe South Carolina, we have Mark Spain, who he does his guaranteed offer thing. And this is where, you know, he, at least in Metro Atlanta, he sponsors the weather, the sports, his commercials all over the place. He has every billboard down every major highway, and he gets probably 90% of the people who call that number end up listing their house rather than using one of his programs. He's just got the options. And I imagine you'll probably see the same things. Buy before you sell is so relatively cheap. I think more people are going to be using that as they understand more. There's just no reason to shop with a home with a contingency anymore. You'll have more leverage. You can have it in place. If somebody comes up and buys the home and you don't need it, there's no penalty with any of them. You can back out. And if they've already done the appraisal, that's all you would have to pay is the cost of that appraisal. But there's no penalty if you know, say you're doing the cash offer, you're 2 weeks away from closing, and a cash buyer pops up and buys your listing, and you don't need this anymore. Fantastic. Good for you. You know, pay for the appraisal if it was already done. But otherwise, you know, you're free and clear. So these are plan A options. You can use them right from the jump with the client. They're plan B options. You can use them after the house is set on the market for 2 months and you want to get some movement. Or if you're, you know, if your client goes out and they just happen to find the house they love way sooner than anybody expected, and they don't want to lose it, you know, use one of the buy before you sell options if their house hasn't sold. So, you know, there's flexibility here. You don't have to commit to these right up front. And that's another thing as an agent, I tell clients is, you know, with me, this isn't pull the trigger right now or the option's gone. We can revisit these. I mean, I just kind of review them, let them know I have the options. You know, a lot of times, no, you know, we'll just list the house. Great. They go out, they find that next house, and then they're kind of like, well, what was that buy before you sell thing you mentioned again? Or, you know, the house has been on the market, you know, 2-3 months. You know, what was that cash offer? You know, can we just take a look at those numbers again? And, you know, if they use it, great. If not, I'm still their source of information, hopefully, and letting them know what we can do.
So I put in this other guy's house information, and it's probably, you know, both of the top, like the cash offers were red, but like looking at,
What's
let me look at it
what's
again.
the address?
It is 2056 Galloway Town Road.
Where did Oh, Galloway wrong then.
Do Galloway and town one word.
Galloway Town. There it is.
Hartsville, there you go.
Obviously you can, so what's the market value? Is it the cheapest?
I would use the AVM. That was what the same number that popped up for my realty.com lead. That's where
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah, we're probably using the same source. Buyer commission.
You can just do 2.5 or 3. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Are they wanting to buy anything else or repairs?
I haven't really talked to them yet, but I doubt it, just because their reason for wanting to sell was financial hardship.
Yeah, so they're not, yeah, okay. So,
And
yeah,
then
and I'm already looking at this, you know, with the mortgage balance at 185 and 231, and if I hit create, so looking at this, I mean, I can see here.
well, that's what I wanted to ask about. So the first transaction, it says negative,
Right.
you know, so is that like literally like they just wouldn't get that, or is that going to be taken out of their entire, if they were going to let them use the program, I
So
should say.
one thing to specify, and this is, you know, going back to Open Door and Homeward. Open Door and Homeward, I mean, and again, no problem with this at all. This isn't deceptive at all. It's just a different way of doing things. I think they say, you know, we give up to 80% of the value of the home, you know, compared to like Zoom Casa that does 70. One of the reasons is they'll take out some of the fees. So, you know, they'll offer whatever it is, 80 or 84%, and then they'll back out these fees. So it comes closer to that 70% anyway. Zoom Casa does the 70% up front, and then the fees come out of the second transaction. So, you know, it's just it's same math, just different way of stating it. So what's
So
going
would
on?
they expect that 22 up front
Well, so,
after the
and
first?
that's the problem. So what they're doing is, you know, they're saying we're going to give you about 70% of the value of the home, which, you know, based on around 230, I mean, that's going to be, you know, maybe 150, well, what would that be? Yeah, so that's the problem, is that the amount they're going to get, it's probably going to be closer to, like, I mean, just quick math in my head, 150, 160, something like that. So that first amount they're going to get isn't going to be enough to cover this mortgage amount. And that's
Right.
why it's a negative. So in this situation, given the price, I doubt there's anything that they could do. I mean, you know, maybe it's just that's a pretty big gulch right there. You know, sometimes when I see it's like negative 5,000, I mean, usually we can get them an extra 5, and then they just, you know, they sell the house and to Zoom Casa, and they don't get any equity that time, but they get the rest of their equity when it sells, you know, and they get that additional 30%. So this particular one, it's probably not an option. And you know, my honest thing would tell them, you know, to check an Open Door offer and see, you know, see if that works at all. You never know what they're going to get for that. So, you know, and again, this is where, and I wouldn't say y'all go check an Open Door offer. As the agent, I would get an Open Door and you know, probably request an offer and add it to my net sheet here and say, you know, this option is what I have. It works great for homeowners, especially in financial stress. Unfortunately, you know, there's not enough equity in your property to do this. This is why I'm telling them it's not an option. So it's not gonna, they don't have to go to, you know, the Open Door Cash Plus offer. They don't have to go to, you know, Homeward, you know, and get sent somewhere else. You know, this is where I'm going to say, look, I already looked up this, this option. Let me delete this backup mortgage. And unfortunately, this doesn't work, but I did get you this other option, and maybe that works for them. I have no idea what Open Door would get. I mean, my instincts tell me it probably wouldn't be quite enough to pay off the mortgage, but you never know. I mean, if they go up as high as, you know, 75 or 80%, it might get close. So
Your numbers are a little bit different than mine, I think. My traditional listing says 217, 140. Oh, it's at 2.
oh, that 0.5%.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Is there a reason? Like maybe.
Did you put in 2.5%?
Oh, no, that's my bad. I accidentally put 3.5 and
Yeah.
2.5.
Yeah, which is
So
fine.
that's
I mean,
why.
yeah,
Okay.
usually it's, and again, so these, you know, the way I look at it, obviously we want to get as close as possible. One thing to mention though, just kind of it could go for this property, it could go for any property. I see a lot of agents, they'll come in here and they'll add the cost. They'll add, you know, HOA fees, they'll add, you know, taxes. I mean, they'll build this out in a lot of detail. So, you know, you can add whatever cost, I mean, utilities, moving, you know, if you're negotiating out a contract, you can add in, you know, concessions that you're giving to really show them, you know, their true net. If you have an active listing and you know, you're kind of going through the motions on it, and you reduce the price. I mean, you can come in here and change the price on here and say, well, you know, this is kind of where we sit now. So, you know, that you can use this. It's as flexible as you want it to be. You know, me as an agent, I generally use this first full presentation, go through the options, and I just come back to it if we run into one of those situations where, you know, they want some activity on their house or they found another one they want to buy before they sell. Some agents, you know, they kind of run their whole transaction off of it, and every single little change or cost, they come in here and add a line. But you know, it's totally flexible. Use it how you see fit for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything?
Can we
And
do that second address real quick? It's 978 Joy Street, Corvallis, Montana.
sure. I'm just gonna call test market value. Do you have that yet, or you want to use the AVM?
AVM is fine.
Okay, yeah, it's coming up 978. Looks like there's no mortgage amount.
Right.
Is this another one they're gonna buy something else?
Yeah, this is another one. Scott actually had to go to work. He's working night shift at the mine, but
Yeah.
this is another one of his rental houses, and he's got a renter in there paying 1,900 a month. So the value is just like way too high, and he needs to exchange it into something that he's getting better, you know, better
I was
cap
gonna say
rate.
1,900 for $1 million house is that's just
Pretty good, huh?
wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
So
mean, you know, I won't even worry about, you know, what he's buying next, but
He's a very nice landlord.
yeah, let's say, you know, if he's
it's too
buying
nice.
something, you know, again,
Landlording's not his thing.
yeah, like the other one, if he's buying something at 600,000, would this one need any repairs at all, or good the way it is?
Yes, I'd say it needs a new roof, and it's a log house and the logs need stained.
Mhm.
So maybe we say 60,000. I have no idea.
Do you think that would increase the value, or is that just work that needs to be done to get it to sell? Because yeah, a lot of times, and that's one thing. I mean,
Um,
sometimes there's upgrades that actually add to the value, and then sometimes there's just work that, you know, it just has to be done, and it's not really going to add any value. I would have to imagine.
Probably just work that needs to be done, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we can leave the sales
yeah, and
price.
like, I mean, staining logs, like maybe people would want to stain their logs themselves. I don't know, but yeah, I would say it could use a new roof and stain. So yeah, probably is like puts it at the upper end.
Well, we'll call it $1 million. We'll assume that there's some difference to it. Maybe not cover. Maybe you don't make money on it, but you at least cover some of the cost of doing it. Maybe create net sheet, and again, you know, pops right up. Kind of shows all these different
Yeah.
options. Since he
Oh,
has
no.
no mortgage on it, I mean, it qualifies basically for anything. You know, obviously getting those repairs done and not coming out of pocket. So this is the interesting situation where, like, you know, with this, a lot of times, you know, we see that maybe you make more money if you do the repairs or if you sell it as is. You know, it's kind of something to question here. You
Hmm.
know, do we do the repair?
Yeah,
Not going to make the
interesting.
money. And again, like I said, you can add these options several different times and play with different figures and see what you get. But he
Yeah,
certainly has plenty of equity in the house if he wants to. And you know, it's kind of an interesting situation. You know, if you've got $1 million property and there's an equity advance program and you can get 70%, well, he's going to get 700,000 because he has no mortgage. And in this particular situation, he doesn't want to, you know, he wants to buy something less expensive anyway. So that cash that he gets, I mean, he can just turn around and buy something with cash. It sounds like to me.
but Kitty put it into a 1031 exchange and
Uh,
avoid the capital gains.
Yes, he should be able to, that there's a way to set that up. Because because all you're doing is getting the equity advance first. So you're not really, I mean, all it is an equity advance. So when you sell the house, is when, that would kick in. So, I mean, and obviously he would, my understanding of the way the 1031s work is you have a certain amount of time to invest that money, but he would have already obviously beat the clock on that. So he would be fine. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
I would talk to Daniel, make sure, again, you click proceed offer, he'll see this, and then just kind of talk to him about it, but I don't see why that wouldn't work at all.
Okay. All right. This is great stuff. Yeah. I think that, it holds him back, like thinking he's really got to get these logs stained,
Well, yeah,
and maybe he doesn't. It's a
and
very, very popular area and there's very few listings on the market there. So it probably
if it's
would
not
still
going to
go
get him his
fast.
money back, and if somebody can sell it as is, I mean, I'm in the Metro Atlanta area. And my whole career, I've been one of the agents who advises, not to do so much, because if you're going to upgrade a tile or upgrade a kitchen, sure enough, a buyer's going to come in and want something different.
Yeah.
Lately our market's kind of taken a turn. I just feel like people have less cash, and that move-in ready thing is far more popular. So I've kind of switched, but mainly because we have these programs available where people can, not pay out of pocket and they can take on some of those projects. And I feel like I have a pretty good eye for that. Like I said, I've flipped some houses and stuff, but I totally understand, if you're not going to get the return out of it, and if you're in a good area where you can just sell it, I mean, don't do the
Yeah.
work, do it.
Okay, cool.
And
Thank
again, like,
you.
if you sit the
Good.
house, if all your feedback, if the house is listed, and everyone's like, I need the stain, I need the roof, whatever it is. I mean, because you could do the roof and not the stain, but if your feedback is, I need this, you can, and nobody's jumping, then you can, look into this program. Like I said, it can always be a plan B. If the feedback you're getting when it's on the market is get this work done and it'll move, do it then. You don't have to do it up front.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you very much, Doug.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? And again, obviously if anybody has any other questions, I know it's kind of getting later in the evening for some agents and it's close to Christmas, but we're more than happy to jump on and do this again.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back again
Sure.
sometime. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Really
love to.
appreciate it.
Yeah, love to. Well, I appreciate it, y'all. And if y'all think of anything when we jump off or need any clarity on anything, feel free to reach out and I'll be available.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too. All right. Bye.